and it said the character's name was Deacon Claiborne, and I said, yeah, I want to read for that. I want to play that Deacon Claiborne. That was sold already.
That's fascinating. We're going to get onto this in a few moments, but I've just written this down, and I wonder whether it resonates with you, Charles. The translation may be a bit wrong. I'm trying to. Here we go. Look there, Charles Esten Terror. How was that?
Was that Klingon?
It was Klingon. I don't know whether you're aware that Charles has had a long and illustrious career before he really hit the big time with Nashville.
Well, it was long. I don't know.
Go on, don't be a shrinking violet. Tell us about those early years. I want to know about the whole Charles Esten, the Klingon years.
Well, I did one episode of Star Trek Next Generation, and I played a Star Trek Next Generation fans out there, absolutely. And I played a young Klingon who had a vision. And it was about 6 hours in makeup and about 6 minutes on screen. But it was a thrill. It was an absolute thrill to become a Klingon. I had a lot of early jobs that were kind of iconically small roles, but iconically on iconic shows. Like I was on the last last season of Cheers. I got to walk through the door at Cheers. I was in the last 2 episodes of Married with Children. I married Kelly Bundy.
You finished off a couple of series by the sound.
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh no, they booked Charles Esten. We're finished.
That was the joke. If they saw me come, they'd have to call their agent and say, "Find me another job. Charles Esten's here."
How did you start in the business? Because after all, were you growing up thinking, I really want to be an actor? Not necessarily I want to be a Klingon on a Star Trek, but I really want to be an actor, that's where I want to be.
No, I wanted to be a Klingon.
Fair enough, I'm going to say, it's always important to have an ambition.
No, it was, my dad always said that when I was little, he would ask me, well, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I would say, a clown. I'm talking really little, I'm not like 16 or 17. I want to be a clown, Dad. No, but I said, and he said, why? And I said, I want to make people laugh. And I was always a class clown and always sort of showing off. And then later, as I was growing up in high school, I picked up a guitar and I started playing music. And then I saw a couple roles on TV shows and in movies. Things like, I remember seeing Rocky and coming out of Rocky. And all you wanted to do was push-ups and run a few miles and go a few rounds, and you had this energy pulsing through your body, and I realized it was all just because of lights flickering on a screen and this portrayal that Stallone came up with. And it occurred to me that I felt that way because of this performance. So and slowly, somewhere along the line, it was, I want to make people laugh, but that might also be nice to make them cry, or to make them feel hope, or to make them feel somebody else's pain. So that sort of wanting people to feel things, I think, is the through line. And early on, I got to be on a show that made a whole lot of people laugh, which was Whose Line Is It Anyway?
You did the British version to start off with. You British version to start off with.
Well, yeah, because one of the first jobs I even had before I did that Cheers or Murphy Brown or any of those was I had a manager back in Los Angeles, and I wasn't getting much work or getting out that much, and I realized that they didn't know me at all. And what I mean by that, they didn't, when you have a manager and agent, you're sort of their product that they're selling. And they didn't know their product really. So I had them over to dinner and just showed off all night. And one of the things I did was pick up a guitar, just played a couple songs, didn't think anything about it. Within a week, they called up and said, listen, they're auditioning for this show called Buddy, the Buddy Holly story. Would you like to go in on that? And it's in London. And I was like, yes. I'm like, yes, that's what I'm talking about. That's the kind of thing I would love to do. And only later did I realize it was because I had them over to hear me play guitar that they even knew I could do that. And so, lo and behold, I got that audition, and it took a while, but I finally got to come over here and play the role of Buddy at the Victoria Palace Theatre for almost 2 years.
How was that? Because after all, that's it's an iconic role, isn't it? So therefore, yeah. I wonder, we'll get onto this later, whether Charles Esten and Deacon Claiborne are closer as people than, obviously, were you Chip Esten back then?
Well, I've always been Charles Esten, but people call me Chip. They still do. To this
I
day.
was talking to someone the other day who said, "Oh, I'm going to be introducing Charles Esten on the stage." I went, "Oh, you mean Chip? Oh, I loved him on Whose Line Is It Anyway?" This is someone who lives in Michigan.
Exactly.
Oh, it's great, Chip Esten. And thinking, and I looked up, you were somewhere else before that as well. So it's like he's in sort of the Witness Protection Program. He's got so many different names going on.
Yeah, I see on Twitter a lot people. The penny drops and they put two and two together. They just suddenly go, "Just realized Deacon Claiborne used to be on Whose Line Is It Anyway?" And they always have the same hashtag. Hashtag mind blown.
How does that make you feel?
No, it's fantastic. It means that, look, this show, that I get to come back here right now and be on the stage and be in there in the O2 Arena after all these years when I started my career right here. I can't even put words to it. The British audiences, when we did Buddy, I couldn't believe the response. First of all, Buddy Holly, that old thing about you're never a prophet in your own town. Buddy was way more popular here. He's popular in the States, but that certain level of belovedness here, whether it was even among the Rolling Stones or the Beatles or all the other acts that loved him. But literally in that show, there would be people dancing in the aisles. They say that, but that would actually happen. So some of the first and most amazing nights I've ever had in my career were here in London. And sort of come back all this time later and get to play this other great character where I also, once again, get to use the music and the acting at the same time. It's the best.
Because that must have been fascinating. Because it's also a lot of pressure, isn't it, when you think about it, if you're actually going to step into the show and try and be someone who's so beloved by the audience. I can still remember Gary Busey, who did Buddy Holly in the film back in the 70s.